The What to Next podcast helps you build a TBR of each your favorite books. In each episode, Lauren and Mean interviews authors and book influencers to recommend books they loved for you to pick up today. If you're an avid reader, always looking for your next great read, then the show's for you. Hi, Lauren. Welcome to What to Next podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I've been writing romance books since 2020 was when I first published Throttled, so part of the Dirty Air series. And it's really kind of kept going since then. I started with one, and it's kind of like, when you read, one book and then you keep going and going and reading more chapters. So I started one book and kept writing more and more books, and here I am.
I gotta tell you, the Throttle came in as an FYI, as a Formula One, which is like somewhat popular, like now it's like a fairly popular, community. Like even my parents watch Formula One. I was like, what?
No way.
Yeah. They were like, yeah, this one. I was like, what are you talking about?
I know the fandom in the US has like exploded in the last like year to 2 years. It's crazy.
So what led you to write about that as your debut novel series,
I've always been intrigued by cars, and I, one day, it's hard like as a couple to choose an episode of TV, or even for yourself, it's hard to pick an episode of like what you want to watch. So we finally agreed on watching the Drive to Survive series on Netflix. And it just hit me while watching that series. Like I pulled out my phone, it was like the last episode of season 1. And I was like, oh, like what if a rival, like their teammate's sister, like that could be like a fun, kind of like forbidden romance. And it was just like a one-liner. And that's kind of how it's really started.
I love this. And it just like it snowballed from there. So
yes,
you have 4 books in that series, and then now you have the Dreamland Billionaires series. So talk to the series, this new series that you have been coming out. The final book, it comes out at the end of the month.
I know it's really wild to think that it's the final one, because I've grown up in Florida my whole life, and I've been to all the amusement parks plenty of times, to the point that I could tell you about almost pretty much every ride at these different amusement parks, because it's what you do. And I was just during COVID, I read a lot of articles kind of about the shutdowns, and just started really looking into theme parks more, and I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube and like these like theme park behind the scenes. And what I became I just used to go to parks became like this, I knew a lot about parks, and then it just like the storyline kind of evolved from there.
I love this. Yeah, I moved to Tampa in 2021, and I actually have an annual membership to Disney. I have not used it. It is, I'm like, a part of me is scared of the Disney adults. Like they're
I can't say I am one. I can understand. I enjoy like the Disney environment, but I'm not like a Disney adult. Yeah.
Like my ideal world will be like I'll go to Epcot, eat my food, read my book, walk around, maybe do a ride or two, kind of like deal. Like I'm probably more of an Epcot kind of
casual,
casual like Disney person, as opposed to being like, I was telling a friend, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take like a vacation, like just go to a couple parks, and she's like, you're not going to Animal Kingdom? And I was like, yeah, no, I have no interest whatsoever seeing the animals, so
I think because of the Avatar,
it's
really popular.
It's really popular, but I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, I'm casual, like I want to dip my toes into Disney World, but I'm like, I'm afraid to just go in. But your book, as I was telling you before, was keeping me company today while I was listening to it. And I was like, oh, this will be so fun. So excited to see this behind the scenes and like, how this is made and like the cast members and all the fun stuff.
Yes. Well, I went to college with people that did the Disney like program.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of different things that influence the story in a way, but you would hear kind of their behind the scenes of like, oh, it's this, 6-month internship. And some people extended it, a year and a half, and then they end up working there. So kind of like learning their perspectives too. Give a bit of influence as well.
Yeah. All right. So let's chat about like the predicament that your heroes have and that leads the story to happen. So
grandpa
left Will you know,
Yes.
and each hero has a story, you know.
They do. And I think with the grandpa, it became like this funny, like side character that never really was. Like
Yeah,
he's there, but and you as a reader, it's kind of this like I don't know if the proper term is like breaking that like fourth wall or something, but
yeah,
it's like as a reader, the grandpa's kind of like behind the scenes, like messing with them.
yeah,
Um, and whatnot, and like that the intention is to kind of fix their lives in a way, but then
yeah.
the characters don't know that, so like we're in on that and then they don't, so he became like this fun tease that I've done with like my readers and whatnot on Instagram, and people like make reels of him. It's hilarious.
Yeah, so for the listeners who have not picked up the series, the grandpa leaves passes away, and on his will leaves each of the brothers a set of things that they need to do in order to get the inheritance. And so, but they need to get the inheritance because their dad is the somewhat villain. He's not a good dad, and so they
Yeah.
want to avoid their dad getting the money or the power
Yes.
or any type of things. And so
They don't like him.
they don't like him. So each one of them has a task to do. So the first task is like actually build a ride and do this. There's another
Mhm.
one that has like marry a girl and impregnate her, you know?
Kind of an unfair balance.
Yeah. So each one of them has a task and they're not happy about it, but they want to get the money. You know?
Right, because they're so motivated by money,
Yeah.
and by the power dynamic of kind of like screwing over their father,
Yeah.
really at the end of the day. Like that's the driving force of this. Plus, $25 billion sounds amazing to anyone who could
I
say
know.
no.
Who can say no? I think they're more motivated by like, I don't want my dad to have any type
Hmm.
of touch, any type of money or power or any type of thing. So
Right.
they'll do everything they can for that. The money is important because they grew up with it, but I feel like they haven't grown up without it. So they don't, they don't feel the need of like, oh, if I lose
Yeah.
money, it's not like they don't know what being poor is. And they learn
Right.
that. I think they learn that by with the interactions they have with the other characters of what being poor looks like in quote unquote, which is middle class or
Right.
like
To
us
them.
plebeians, yeah,
Right, right. Us people that live in like normal everyday lives compared
yeah,
to them. And it's hard, like I'm absolutely not, nor never will be a billionaire. So it's
yeah,
like making them kind of relatable in a way. Like they have parent issues too, but at the same time, they need a reality check because
yeah,
they live on another planet. They could afford another planet. I mean, it's just like you're absolutely correct of like they are doing it for the dad mostly.
yeah,
And I think, eventually it switches for them of they're motivated by their own, like, maybe I actually want this. Like maybe I do want a child or a family. Maybe I do
yeah,
want to become this director of this park.
yeah, yeah.
And then Cal.
And it's good. So let's chat about the final offer, which is the final
Mhm.
book, and they can be read as a standalone. You can read them out of order, but it's best if you read them in order.
Yeah.
Talk to about Cal's book. What can we expect from his book?
I think, and what I've been told is like when people expect something from it, like they end up getting the complete opposite. So, because I think people like, and I expected it too. So that's the funny thing. It's like when I went and sat down and started writing Cal's story, I expected like an office romance. They're kind of like a certain type of trope. Like I wasn't sure 100%, but for sure, like office, hate to love. And then I completely scrapped that draft and went like did a U-turn and did like small town childhood best friends, like the complete opposite of whatever you could expect of his book, pretty
Yeah,
much.
but I can see that after meeting Cal, especially in terms and conditions, you can see that happening. You can see like, okay, you need a little shock to the system, because I feel like in
Yes.
Office Hate to Lovers, it's too close to terms and conditions,
Hmm.
So I think it's a good refresh and like reset. We're gonna give you
Yes.
what you need, not what you think you need. What
Exactly.
you
Like
need.
what Cal needs.
Yeah.
He's not an office guy. I mean, I
No.
really did try to write a good like at least 15,000 words of him doing this task in like a business setting. And I was like, this is not him.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
who am I kidding? He hates these types of jobs. So I think it was a really good reset. And I enjoy doing that. It's like it keeps me fresh too of I'm not writing another office romance. I'm like gonna really branch out.
I love this. And so, all right, so let's chat. So, what can we expect after this series? Are we expecting more books and other series or other stuff? What can you know?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm like at liberty to share, but there will be there will be more series from me. I think those are my favorite types of things to write are interconnected standalones.
Yeah.
And, I think with like Dirty Air, it was friends. With this series, it's brothers. And I think with the next series, a good mix could be nice.
I
I'm
love
not
it.
100% certain. Yeah, a
Yeah.
mix, of people
Yeah.
that know each other. I do like keeping it 3 to 4 books. I will say
Yeah.
that's my sweet spot.
Yeah. I like that sweet spot. I think it's like good to enough for the reader, for someone who's not intimidated by like a large 10 book series where it's like, okay, I can't.
Yeah, I'm intimidated by that.
Yeah.
I, you
I
know,
would enjoy it
I
by writing it, like, oh,
by both, by reading it, by writing it. I'm the type of person that even watching television, it's hard for me to like, even if I love the show, I'm a diehard fan, I can't finish the last season.
yeah.
It's just something in me. I don't
Same.
know. So
I
like I would have commitment issues.
Yeah, so I think it's like a good sweet spot. So I'm glad that we're going to get more books from you, and I'm glad that we're starting to get some audiobooks too. So which is
Yes.
exciting.
Yeah, for all of them. I've actually sent in all the narrators. They're being recorded now. I even sent for the future book. I'm getting ahead, which is a rarity for
Yay!
me.
Yay! This is very exciting. So Lauren, let's chat about some book recommendations. Do you have any books to recommend our listeners to pick up?
Oh my goodness. I have a very strange taste. By strange, I mean like eclectic of it's kind of everywhere as far as romance goes.
Okay.
So I would say if I was recommending more like contemporary,
Mhm.
I loved picking up Elsie Silver's books.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you've read her. Yeah.
Yep.
The her first series, like the one that's complete, that's the first time I read her and I really enjoyed all of them. So like if that's, the contemporary mood, I would recommend
Mhm.
that. I did finish, and this is kind of cheating, but an arc for Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I really enjoyed it.
I read that
Yeah.
too. It's so
Oh
good.
yeah. It was really good. Like I felt like I just like wanted to be part of that group of friends.
Yeah.
And it reminded me the importance of friends. Yeah, I was like, where do I find these people? And why
We're,
didn't I meet them in college?
and why do we just like spend all this time like going to this trip and having these memories in this beautiful house,
I
And
know. I
like
I mean it sounds like a great time. And if I had a friend that had a main house, I mean,
yeah,
I guess I would live my best life. So
yeah,
you'd go to a happy place.
yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. And then this is where the eclectic part comes in because I love like paranormal
Mhm.
romances, like sci-fi. I do love fantasy as well. So like that's where I mainly read.
Ooh. So
Yeah.
what kind of fantasy? Someone who's like newish to the genre, which ones do you recommend to as an introduction, or which ones are your like the ones that you go back to and you're like, okay, I definitely will love this book again and again and again.
That's a great, great question because I feel like I have some of my favorites that I'm like, okay, I read this one again and again. So, and this one's kind of a wild card, but every time I recommend it to someone, they really enjoy it. And it's Bound to the Battle God by Ruby Dixon.
Ooh.
So those, and then yeah, so basically, and there's a similar series by Kristen Ashley called like the Fantasyland series,
Yeah.
where, oh yeah, you've read that one?
Yeah, I read that. I listened to those ones actually. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
no, it's so hard to find people that have listened to them, at least like people that I talk to. I know they're very popular. So it's so
Mhm.
cool that you read them or listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those, even though I think those are in third, but I could be wrong. Um, but I like portal jumping.
Yeah. That's a
I'm
good
a
way to
fan.
look at it. That's a great good look at it, like portal jumping. That's your niche trope.
Yes, you know why I think it's a good branch? Because you have contemporary in it, right?
Yeah.
But then you have the portal element to then throw them into this fantasy world.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the best of both worlds if you're newer to the genre.
I love this. Ah, love these
Yeah.
recommendations. This is awesome. So Lauren, tell us where I can find you online.
No, no, no. So online, I'm most likely to be on like my Facebook group, I would say. That's where I am very active. I at least go on there once, maybe twice, sometimes 3 times a day to refresh, to like see comments and maybe interact with readers.
Yeah.
I will go like scrolling through TikTok. I don't post as much, but I like seeing content and commenting on it because it always makes me laugh. Like I just like to like sit and my significant other will be like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "Oh, like I saw this funny thing or I read this funny post by someone." And then on Instagram, I'll go through like my tagged photos more often than kind of my DMs. So I'll interact with people in that way. I'm not as great with my DMs anymore. I wish I was better.
That's okay. So now we know. So, Lauren, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For a list of books mentioned and other romance recommendations, please visit whattoreadnextblog.com. Did you know you can purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore? With Libro.fm, you can pick up more than 250,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from real booksellers. You'll get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company, you know the name, but you'll be part of a different story, one that supports your local community. If you're new to audiobooks, there's a perfect way to squeeze into more reading into your busy life. Listen with the free Libro.fm app while you do your chores, walk your dog, relax at home. The Watch Read Next podcast has a special offer for our listeners. Get 2 audiobooks on Libro.fm for the price of 1 with your first month of membership. Use code WhatToReadNext. This offer is only valid for new members in Canada and the US. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.